This is the iPhone 5C. This iPhone was released in 2013, and it was the budget 2013 model. Its more expensive counterpart was the iPhone 5S, which, we can barely call this thing a budget phone, considering its price compared to the 5S, but this actually had more in common with the iPhone 5 that came the year before, in 2012. Now, surprisingly, this didn't actually have the new chip in it. It had different specs than the iPhone 5S. It actually had the same components as the iPhone 5. In fact, thinking back at it, it didn't really have any real advantages over the iPhone 5, but I don't think that's the reason it flopped. So let's talk specs. This thing had a 4-inch LCD screen. It had an Apple A6 processor with 1GB of RAM and a 1510 mAh battery. Its back camera was 8 megapixels, and it had a 1.3 megapixel front camera. It was the last 32-bit iPhone. But despite all this, it is still one of the worst-selling iPhones ever. So why did it flop so hard? Well, in order to explain this, we actually have to go all the way back to the beginning, the first iPhone. The original iPhone dropped in 2007, but it was pretty expensive for its time. $500 price tag for the 4GB model, and it was locked to a 2-year plan with AT&T. The price actually decreased the next year, but then they just increased it every single year after that until it exceeded the cost of the original iPhone. That is where our iPhone 5C comes in. The iPhone 5S had all new features like Touch ID, but, it was still getting more and more expensive every year. This is why Apple dropped the iPhone 5C in the first place. Now, we all know that having several tiers of different phones is a good idea, but Apple did not do it well this time. You see, the iPhone 5S was only $100 more, and you got all the new features. That is not a recipe for success, and it led to the iPhone 5S selling way more units than the iPhone 5C. Plus, the Galaxy S4 was tough competition for the iPhone 5C, and this wouldn't do anything except decrease its sales. Probably most importantly, the Galaxy S4 had a way bigger screen than even the iPhone 5S. A 5-inch screen compared to a 4-inch screen. Thankfully, Apple learned their lesson from the iPhone 5C, and next year when they dropped the iPhone 6, it had all the same features as the flagship one, but was just a bit smaller, at 4.7 inches. It was now the same size as the Galaxy S4. And the iPhone 5C went on to become the second worst-selling iPhone ever, only after the original iPhone. Thanks for watching this episode of In Hindsight. I made a similar one for the Galaxy S4. I'll have that linked in the description. Subscribe if you liked the video.